pause. Okay, welcome to another of our webinars in our Women in Publishing Summit webinar series. Just a quick note before we get started, and that is we have a bunch of stuff coming up in June as well. So if you have not been over recently to womeninpublishingsummit.com/events, you can also find it from the events tab on the website. Do head on over there. We have a 2-day intensive publishing training coming up on June 7th and 8th. We have Book Launch in a Box, which starts on June 13th. And we have other webinars, including a new one with Story Origin that will be in June as well. Lots of fun stuff going on over there. So womeninpublishingsummit.com/events is where to go and find all of that out. So today we are here with Jackie of Dream to Author, Jackie Haley. Jackie is a nationally recognized, award-winning author, speaker, and entrepreneur. She's appeared on CBS, NBC, among other major media outlets, and traveled the country representing her books. Her first novel, Crystal Beach, received many powerful endorsements following its release in 2012, including one from the Des Moines Register. But Jackie didn't stop there. In 2017, she published her sequel, Truce Island, and continued to speak and hold book signing events across the country. Shortly after, she was approached by David Schmitz to write his family's truly inspiring story about his late wife that left a gift for him, which he received 2 years after she passed from ovarian cancer. Brenda's Wish was released in 2020 with several excellent endorsements, including 2 national foundations and many incredible reviews. Jackie has a passion for writing, for making a difference, and for helping others with similar passions. She launched a new entity, Dream to Author, to help aspiring writers become published, providing assistance through online training and coaching services. Besides speaking engagements and a writing career, she has over 15 years of experience in nonprofit management and began her own consulting business in 2012, doing strategic planning projects and more for nonprofit organizations. So welcome and thank you for being a sponsor of the Women in Publishing Summit.
Thank you so much. This has been such an honor to be a part of this. I want to thank you, Alexa. You've been wonderful to work with. And this really is truly my first year working with women in publishing. And I've just been in awe at the community that you have here. And to be able to be a part of that has been a blessing. So I think you and I share a lot of the same passions. And I'm really excited to get into that. Now, I know we've got to get going into the task at hand, this topic that we've got, but I do want to keep that discussion alive with helping people, Alexa, and I know you provide so many services. So I do highly recommend anybody that hasn't been involved in other events with Women in Publishing, please check out that events page that she had mentioned. It's fantastic. So I'm going to do a quick share of the presentation. Can everybody see that okay?
It is coming up and I'm going to turn off my microphone. Just a quick reminder, everyone, if you have questions, please do use the Q&A box because things get lost really quickly in the chat. And if you're joining us on Facebook and have a question, we'll try and see those as well. And yes, we will. Let's do this. How to write an award-winning book. Woohoo! Here we go.
Yes, absolutely. And I do have a gift at the end that I want to a surprise for everybody. And I do have links for those. So Alexa, if I emailed those links to you, I don't know if we put those in the chat box or whatever the best route is, feel free to let me know. But we'll go ahead and start this process here and get into the presentation. Again, I'm Jackie Haley. I'm with Dream to Author. I started this business with a passion of helping people write, publish, and market their very first book. So that's been a very exciting thing for me and very fulfilling. So it's a passion of mine to help others. So being a part of this community is truly an honor. Today, my deliverables really are teaching you guys, talking to you guys about writing amazing strategies to hook your reader and bring your story to life. I'm also going to touch on the must-have strategies to polish your manuscript so that you can submit to publishers, agents, and contests, and do that all with confidence, right? And at the end, I'm going to show you how to build your credibility and add that title, award-winning author, to your name, because that's our end goal. We want to make sure you're writing a story that's compelling, that gets judges' attention, that gets the reader's attention. And I have a few great takeaways for you today. So I'm excited to get started. As I mentioned in the just the overall agenda, we're going to talk about the book award criteria. There are so many different contests all over the world, right? There are hundreds upon hundreds of contests, and everybody's looking for something different, but there are some real trends that you can see that we're looking for. And those are the things that I'm going to go through really quickly and talk to you about, to make sure that you're focused on those in your story, to make sure that you have the best chance to winning an award with the story that you've written. We're going to talk about the writing strategies. These are all those deliverables, right? Writing strategies, bringing your book to life, polishing your manuscript, and then finding that award-winning title. So we'll go ahead and jump right in. And I want to get to book award criteria. Now, in discussing this, I'm very excited about this, because this is something that when I first wrote my first book, I never thought that I would be getting a book award, but my publisher helped me through this, and I got the confidence through coaching and other programs and my editor to get to this level, and it's been a blessing. And I want to share that experience with you guys. As I mentioned, there are a few trends in book criteria that you can look for. The first one I would say is obviously the content, the storyline, the plot, the message. You want to make sure that that's strong, that's concise, and it's to the point, and it's brought in the very beginning of your book. You want to make sure that you're hooking that reader in with a very strong message and storyline to get through. Judges look for that right away when they're starting. Also, the quality of writing. These two main things are really the nuts and bolts of your storyline, making sure it's strong and you have a way with your own voice, telling the story in your own unique way. That is what really puts you at the next level and giving you that opportunity to get into a book award. You want to make sure that your author's voice is unique. The overall look and design, whether it's the cover design, the interior layout, quality, the production of it, there are some contests out there that look at all of those aspects. Is it a good quality book? Can people take that and really feel like they're in the book, and the production is very good quality? And then last but not least, the title versus the genre. When a judge is picking up a book and looks at it, and does the title represent what that book is about? Is it consistent throughout? And you want to make sure that you're touching on all of these aspects when you're looking at writing your own story and trying to make it something that is worthy of applying for a book award, okay, and entering into that contest. Think about these in your own way, but all of these concepts that I'm listing here today in the book criteria, they all have one common denominator. And this one fact, that if there's anything that's a takeaway, this is what I want to give you today. It's not about you as the author. It's about the reader. It's about how you make that reader feel. It's about how you make that reader think. It's about how you make that reader connect with your story. So if there's anything that you get out today, I want you to think about the reader, whether when you're writing the story, when you're editing your story, make sure that you're bringing that reader into that story and showing them what you have to offer. That is how you can take your story to the next level. I was researching some of these book contests, and there are so many, of course, across the globe, like I said, but I found this one judge that is Ellen Mattsson. She's member of the Swedish Academy and the Nobel Committee. I love this quote that she gave, talking about her perspective. She says, it's all about quality, literary quality, of course. The winner needs to be someone who writes excellent literature, someone who you can feel when you read that there's some kind of power and development that lasts through the books, all of their books. And she goes on to say, For me, it's a voice that I hear in the writing that I find within the particular writer's work and nowhere else. It's different to explain. It's very difficult to explain what it is, but I always know when I find it. It's something you're born with, a talent that gives a dimension to that particular writer's work. Now, I thought this was interesting and I wanted to point it out to you guys because it's talking about the voice, it's talking about that unique way. You are your own person. You can only tell a story in your way and nobody else's. Nobody else can take that from you. So it's a matter of finding your own voice, telling the story in your own unique way, and bringing that reader into your story in your way. That's what's going to put you in that group of contestants and finalists for an award. Now, I wanted to continue on to working through writing strategies to hook your reader, right? When we are all starting our books, especially when judges have 50 entries to read, they're going to want to be hooked right away. So I wanted to give a few strategies that'll be crucial in making sure that you are engaging that reader, engaging that judge, engaging maybe that literary agent that's considering representing you. So we're going to start off with the compelling first line of your book. Now, I want you to think about what I said earlier when we're talking about it's about the reader, right? You want to make that reader connect and feel and think about your story and want to know more and want to continue. So here are some key factors in this, in writing your first line for your story. You want to hook your reader with questions. You want to make that reader want to read more, right? It's very simple, but you want to make sure that you are creating that mystery, creating those questions, and getting that to where the reader is going to go, I have to continue. I have to keep going. I need to know what happens next to this person. I need to know how this situation ends. I need to know what's going on. On the first line, the compelling first line, I want you to limit your description. Now, I only say that in the first line and the first couple lines even, just because you don't need to go off into over describing your coffee mug or your setting or something like that, when you really need to connect the reader with the situation or the person, the character in your book, or what they're going through. You want to limit that description because you can always develop that scene after you hook the reader in with that first line. And then once you get their attention with that first line, you're going to keep it going. And I'm going to show you how. We're going to talk a few ways on keeping that hook going and engaging the reader throughout the whole story. All right. So some of the options to start your own book. I want to make sure I get this right. Okay, so some of the options to start your own book, there are 3 different ways that I like to start your first line. And I've got some samples to show you so you can connect with that. First of all, you can start your readers in an action scene. That's a great option. You're starting them in the middle of a situation. You're grabbing that reader and putting them right into a fight scene, right into a courtroom, right into whatever action is going on or whatever situation is going on, and you can put that reader in the bench next to them, on the couch next to the character, or in the situation that they're dealing with, and figure out what to do. You can also, if you don't want to start with an action scene, or if it's not fitting for yours, you can develop an emotional connection in your first line through development of the character. Connect that reader with the main character. Right? Try and figure out a way that reader's like, I have to get to know this person. I have to figure out what they're going to do next. I have to figure out why they're in this situation. This person, I want to know what they're about. Developing that connection, making the reader think, making the reader feel, those are huge items to go through on starting your first line of your book. Next, of course, you can go for the shock factor. So you can go for something that's that jaw-dropping statistic or that jaw-dropping situation or facts that they're going through, and then build off of that. So these are 3 ways that you can. These certainly aren't limited to, but these are definitely 3 great ways to start your first compelling line. Now say all these things, but I know that I'm a learner from, I learn best from seeing other examples and learning as I go. So I wanted to put some examples here for you. I've got Shirley Hazard by the transit of venues. By nightfall, the headlines were reporting devastation. And then the second quote I have, I feel little reluctance in complying with your request, by Charles Brockton Brown, Transformation, and American Tale. So these 2 are both thought-provoking. They're both creating questions for the reader. And they're both putting them, the first one really is kind of putting them in an action scene, and reporting that devastation and knowing there's going to be a situation the next morning or by nightfall. In the second one, it's connecting the reader with that person, right? That first person that's saying they feel little reluctance in complying with the request. Well, that sparks questions for me. What kind of request is it? And what are they doing? And those are 2 great first lines. Here are a couple others. It's plain and simple. I had to put it out there because it was just 3 words. They're out there, by Ken Casey, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. Now, I've got this one, and there's one from an older, these hooks have been around for hundreds upon hundreds of years. This one's 1962. I have one, I think, from 1917, but these are ways to hook that reader. It is the way to get these people engaged in the story and want to learn more. Imagine a ruin so strange it must never have happened. So Barbara Kingsolver from the Poisonwood Bible, she put that one out there. These are great thought-provoking questions for the reader that they bring out. So I love these first lines. And of course, I saved my favorite for last. Who wouldn't be skeptical when a man claims to have spent an entire weekend with God in a shack, no less? So if anyone has read The Shack, I want you to, or The Blind Side, let me know in the chat box. These are two of fantastic books that I love. They are so fun. Yes, Shannon. Yes, they are. Absolutely. I highly recommend, if you haven't read them, Alexa. From the snap of the ball to the snap of the first bone is closer to 4 seconds than 5. One Mississippi. That is the first line of The Blind Side. I love the movie, love the book. I mean, the books are usually the better than the movies, but I thought Sandra Bullock did a fantastic job in The Blind Side. So I absolutely love these. But all in all, the overall message is you want to connect that reader, right? It's about the reader. It's about what you can get the reader to do. You get them to think, you get them to feel, you get them to connect to your story. And these are ways that you can do that. Total movie watcher. So yes, Rita, you thought it was a great movie. That's fantastic. Movie is fantastic. Yes, Marty. A lot of people have seen the movie. The Shack, I think, is a movie too, correct? I think. I don't think I've seen the Shack though yet. Anyway, so moving forward with this, there we go. We've talked about hooking that reader and the compelling first line, right? We've talked about how to move forward with that and how to get them engaged. I want to make sure I'm keeping track of my time there, Alexa. So when we're talking about that, I want to go forward with how to keep that hook. And keeping that hook, we're going to talk about revealing your conflict in the first 5 pages. This is a big rule. A lot of people say this, no matter, in many different kinds of lessons and topics. But honestly, if you have ever read a book where you have not had the conflict or the main message revealed in the first 5 pages, how many of you would put that down? How many of you would keep reading, actually? Would you keep reading if you would? I know that about 3 pages exactly. Yes. in the first 3 pages, if I don't know the main conflict or that hook in the story or what's going on or what I'm going to get out of that book, I really, really want to make sure I'm going to put it away. It's not going to be worth my time. And I swear today we are more of an abbreviated country than ever. People seem to be writing things in bullet point form than anything else. So getting to the point and getting the message out there fast and in a unique way it truly is an art form, and it really is needed, but you can get it out there and that's going to keep them captivated. All right. Yes. Yes, absolutely, Linda. You want to make sure that you're engaged. Okay, the second part, starting and ending each chapter somewhere interesting. This is another thing. Who of you out there have said, okay, I'm just going to read till the next chapter and then I'm going to stop? I know I have. I have done that a million times where I'm like, okay, I'm just going to read that till the next chapter. I want you to think about this from the reader's side. They're going to want to stop at an end point, a breaking point. You want to make sure that they don't do that. It's your job as a writer to make sure those transitions lead you into that next chapter where that reader is going, I have to know what happens next. They're in this situation. They're doing this. I've got to figure out what's going to happen, or I've got to figure out how this person's going to react to this situation. These are the things that you want to do, and you want to make sure those transitions are in there. They're compelling, they're believable, and they make sure that that reader goes into the next chapter, whether they like it or not. Because at the end of the day, then they're going to close that book and go, man, I could not put that book down. And they're going to take it and they're going to talk about it with their friends, and then they're going to come and buy your book. And that's what you want. Constructing a story and unpredictable plot. You want to make sure that that's a strong storyline and it's an unpredictable plot, because it can go in this way, this direction, or this direction. This situation could change and the storyline could change. How is it going to change? You want to create that mystery for the reader so they want to know what happens next. Because if they know what happens next, it gets boring. They're going to lose interest in your reader and they're going to put it down, or they're going to move on to another story. So you want to make sure that that is smooth, it's a strong storyline, and it's unpredictable. Some of the best compliments you can get are, I did not know what was going to happen next, and I couldn't wait to read it. One other thing, make sure the stakes are high. Make sure that you've got a worthy opponent to the main character. Make sure that the stakes are high and to where the main character has got one way or the other, and they're going to be drastically different. And those consequences are high. So that is a great way to make sure that your reader stays intrigued. Is everybody with me? So do you guys understand everything so far? If you have any questions, let me know. I know, Alexa, you're on there on the chat, and I appreciate that. If there's anything I need to pay attention to, let me know. Perfect. Awesome. Thank you, Marilyn. Thank you, Tina. I want to continue to talk about bringing your book to life. This is, now we've talked about, the line, the compelling first line, hooking that reader, getting that reader into the situation, into the stories, and keeping them engaged through the entire story. But let's talk a little bit about bringing that story to life. Here are some of the strategies, I should say. Here are some of the strategies. The priority here, again, connecting your reader, right? Making sure that they are sitting with that character and experiencing those experiences throughout the entire book. That is how you're going to connect with them. You want to show and don't tell as much as possible. Describe the setting, describe the situations, describe everything you can through the character's eyes, or maybe through the dialogue, giving the perspective of the character, the personality, building that character and building that scene out through characters that are in the story are the best way to connect that reader. It's going to put that reader in the story. You know, when you're describing settings and characters as a first impression, that gives the reader that first look at what you're going in. So you know what that setting, let's say it's a coffee shop in LA. You know what that is because you have it in your mind, but the readers are reading it for the first time. So think about it as you're looking at it for the first time. What are the things that you notice first? And get that in your scene development. Get those characters developed in that scene as a first impression. So what do they think of first? And when you're doing that, use all 5 of your senses. What do you smell when you walk into that coffee shop? What do you notice? What do you see? Attention, or do you see tension? Do you see camaraderie amongst the patrons in the coffee shop in LA? Do you hear the bustling noise of the traffic outside the coffee shop? Do you see people quiet at their computers? Using all of those things will make sure that that reader is feeling what the characters are feeling as they're walking into that coffee shop. And that's really what you want to do. You want to show them how that looks. You want to give those descriptions as they are walking in the coffee shop with that character themselves. And that's a great way to develop your scene and develop your characters. And one of the most important things, and it goes back to that judge's perspective, is establishing your voice. And you want to find your own way of telling that story. You want to try and avoid those cliches, right? And give the reader something unexpected. Keep the interest of the reader. And at the end of the day, you want to make sure you understand the difference between your voice as the author and the voice of the characters. Those are going to be different things. And if you start meshing those voices together, or they sound alike, or they're all alike, you're going to confuse the reader as to what POV it's in. So make sure you have distinct differences between the voices, and you as the author have your own voice as a narrator. It's going to make all the difference in the world, and it's going to engage the reader. All right. Let's jump into, and I totally agree, cliches are very hard to avoid. Absolutely. And sometimes you have to get them in there if they're proving a point or anything like that. But you definitely, if you can minimize that as much as possible, or find different unique ways to describe the same kind of situation, it is very, it's going to be beneficial. It's going to actually bring out your own voice even more. And that gets the attention of judges and publishers, so to speak. So but yes, these can be some things that are hard. That's why we use coaches to, get the help to try and work through these technical pieces and these scenes that have those issues, whether it's cliches or repetition or things like that. Getting that out of your story and making sure it's polished is the best way to go. Alexa has been coaching with writers as well, so I know, Alexa, you've got a very good idea of what that looks like too. So, and I highly recommend getting the help you need when you have. There are plenty of resources out there, a heck of a lot more than when I was writing my first book. But let's talk a little bit more about polishing your manuscript. It is when you are getting done with your story, you've gotten the hook, you've gotten the engaging part of, you've got the plot line in, it's a strong, it's unexpected, people are connecting with that. You want to polish your manuscript so you're ready to submit to agents, publishers, book contests to build your credibility. Here are some things that you want to do. Now, you definitely want to review when you're reviewing each scene, and I do want to define this very quickly because this is one of the common mistakes that I see in a lot of my clients, and it was one of the things that I did as a first-time book writer. I had trouble with this. It was in reviewing each scene. A scene is a unit of the story that reveals an action or information relevant to the plot in a time, place, and character's point of view. Those 3 concepts: time, place, and character's point of view. Now, you want to make sure in every single scene you are moving that story forward. If you're going down a rabbit hole of description that's pointless, that does not move that plot forward, that does not add to the situation at hand, or just doesn't provide the plot to move forward. That is where you want to get rid of it. You want to extend any of that out of your story. Your story always has to move forward, or you're going to lose interest in the reader. And the other thing you want to definitely make sure of is if you have a change in any aspect, and this is what I give them a lot of the input, a lot of my feedback revolves around this, any change in time, place, or character's point of view, you really need to have a scene break in that. Now, it was an aha moment on my first book, which I spent 2 years revising. That was one of the common mistakes that I had. I was putting in multiple points of view in places that were there. Oh, that's interesting. I just lost my screen.
We can still see you in your screen.
That's interesting. You know, Alexa, you had that happen once before, right?
So when I'm in Zoom and that happens, usually, yeah, there you go. Were you able to, can you see it now?
Nope.
Are you on a Mac?
I'm on a PC.
Are you on a PC? Okay, I don't know how to do it on a PC anymore, but the Mac button is that little button that brings up all your, everything that's active, all your screens that are active, and then you can find it and click on it.
Interesting.
Try escaping, hitting escape and take you out of your full screen. Maybe that'll help you. Sorry, everybody, this happens sometimes.
There we go. I am so sorry about that. I've never in my life had that happen before. That's a new one. I did get it now. I can see you guys.
All right, phew. And
oh, good times, good
that was just
times.
to make sure people were still with us and paying attention, right?
Yes. Oh gosh, so sorry. Yes, I did a Control Alt Delete. My gosh, that was interesting. Okay, well, I'm gonna keep going before that happens again. So now when we're talking about, okay, this is the next one. Are you guys seeing my screen at all?
Yep, but can you want to put it back in full present?
Yep.
There we go.
Perfect. Okay. Okay, so keeping characters consistent. This is important. You don't want to have these characters. I think I went back. Let me just check and make sure I'm not missing anything. Okay, so here's where we were. Don't over explain. That was the other one I did want to mention. And this is a simple thing where I also struggle. It's a common mistake. So I wanted to give just a quick example to show people where you can do that over explaining, because sometimes people don't see how that happens. And I had that when I was writing my first book. It was, I was over explaining. I was explaining the situation, and then I was explaining the character's perception of the situation. So I'd say it twice. So example, she dropped her wine glass when she saw him on one knee. She was shocked that he was proposing so soon. Well, you just need that first line. You can tell she dropped her wine glass. That indicates shock, right? That indicates that she's surprised. And when she saw him on one knee in the context of that scene, you can assume, yes, he's proposing. So the dialogue takes care of the rest of the assumptions. So you really can take out those extra lines that really, because they dilute your scene. You want to make sure that you've got it short, sweet, to the point, but it's got to be compelling. And the shorter sentences in this sense can be stronger, and it allows the reader to come up with their own conclusions, and that keeps it interesting for the reader as well. So that's just one example of what that could look like. Continuing on, to keep your characters consistent. You want their, if they're dressing a certain way, some of their tag points that they always wear a barrette in their hair, or they always do something if they aren't wearing a barrette in their hair. Some of these things that you signify as character points or personality traits, you want to make sure they're consistent. And if they're not consistent, why are they? You can make it inconsistent, but you have to explain it in the story. So if a character is deciding they have to break up with their girlfriend that they were so in love with, and this is a very big change in the behavior, explain why. There's got to be a backstory of why he's changing his point, or changing his behavior, or changing the way he is. This will keep and when you do that, that'll keep the readers engaged. Using adverbs only when you must. Get out those ly words as much as possible is always a good thing. Edit out your filler words. Again, that dilutes your voice as an author, putting in really, very, some, although, however. Get those out of there to where your sentences are stronger and they're more descriptive, and you can save that language for plot development and dialogue and things like that. Make sure your dialogue flows well. This is super important because you want to make sure that it doesn't sound like a story. It's not choppy or anything like that. It flows like a conversation would naturally. And to do that, you can either, do one of two things. You can either read it out loud to yourself, or you could have somebody read. Perfect, Rita, she's got it. Yes, read it out loud, or have someone read it to you. Or you can do role play if you have, two people in a conversation, maybe someone's doing that. But that will allow you to really hear how that works and how that flows naturally. And also, I do want you, if at all possible, to avoid that repetition. Now, this would be like saying a character's name like 4 times in a paragraph, or saying the same word too many times in a sentence. Try and keep those limited, and make sure that you're able to get the point across without having to say it over and over again. Or find, if you have to say something over and over again, describe something, do it in a different way. Does anyone have any questions right now on what I've got so far? Guys still with me out there? Perfect. I love it. I love it. This is great. Okay, let's talk a little bit. Very good. Thanks, Carrie. There are a lot of notes to take, but I will tell you guys will have these PowerPoint slides. And Alexa, I did send you the link to those. If we want to put it in the chat, let me know, or what the easiest process is, what you guys usually do. I'd be happy to help out there. Let's talk about finding your award-winning title, shall we?
Hey, Jackie.
Yeah.
You do actually have a couple of questions in the Q&A box. Do you want me to read those to you now?
Oh my gosh, that would be super helpful. Thank you.
Okay. So Diane wants to know, my sense is to kind of start each chapter with a hook and end with a cliffhanger. Is that pretty much what you are saying? The engagement forced them to keep going?
Yes, absolutely. Yes, cliffhanger, some kind of connection, something that's going to compel that reader to go, I need to know what happens next. That, at the end of the day, the reader needs to go on to know what's happening next. So yes, the cliffhanger and starting your book. And I've had some coaches even say, end your chapter in the middle of an action scene, which has happened before. You have series of TV shows and things that they always have those cliffhangers at the end, so you can watch the next episode. You have to watch the next episode. That's exactly, it's in the same kind of realm as far as writing a book. You want to make sure that you've got that cliffhanger there. Absolutely.
What will make them turn the page? Okay, I don't do multiple POVs, Christy says, in the same scene, but sometimes my characters are moving from one place to another, lots of action in my dystopian novel. Should I not continue the scene in the destination location?
Not continue the scene in the destination location. Well, if you're changing POVs, you can keep the same location and change POVs, but you want to put in that scene break just to keep it clear, to know, for the reader to know what perspective is being read, what character is behind that perspective. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
And Alexa, I don't know if you have anything to add on that.
I mean, it's hard because I know I've talked to Christy a lot about her book, and she has a lot of things happening. So there may be some things that apply to her book that don't apply to others just because of the way she has her set up. But I think there's probably a couple different ways that she could do that. But
absolutely. Well, and I'd love to look at it if need be too.
All right.
But Alexa, yeah. I mean, Alexa, if you're helping her, I'm sure she'll yeah.
Oh, I am not a writing coach. So if you are providing writing coach support, by all means, Chris, ask Jackie. Um,
Absolutely. You know, point of view is one of the hardest things that I had to learn writing my first book. And that's why I had to do a ton of research on point of view and scene changes and what that looks like and where they should have. So absolutely. Are there any others at the
yes,
moment?
we got a couple
Oh,
more.
sorry.
Leoma wants to know if these things all apply equally to nonfiction, in her case specifically memoir.
Memoir is, yes, many of this, much of this does. I mean, at the end of the day, you want to make sure that you're connecting that reader with your experience and you are putting that main message in the very beginning. So you're all that hooking the reader and engaging that reader all the way to the end. You want to make sure that you've got that all put together where it's about the reader. You are connecting the reader with your story and how you handled that and what you learned from it, what you got through it, and put that in the beginning. Make sure your main message is in the beginning, the points, and that first 5 pages. What are their takeaways? What are they going to experience out of that? And hook them in so they know what they're going to read about. I'm working with a client in New Zealand right now about this particular thing. And memoirs are great books because they truly can be inspiring. They can teach people something. They can show the experience of other people's lives. And to get that message across, definitely engaging them, making the reader feel that way a lot of these things would pertain to that.
Totally agree. Memoir is one that I've spent a lot of time researching too. And I would say that the most important thing, I mean, obviously, like Jackie just said, that theme or what the journey that they take with you and what the reader gets from it is really important. But a memoir should read like a fiction. If it doesn't read like a fiction book, it's probably closer to a self-help or a nonfiction, like autobiography or biography. So it sounds like you work with memoirists, but there's also another great resource is Brooke Warner. And if you just Google Brooke Warner, she has all kinds of courses and books and other things like that, if you're just looking for something to get started before you write with a coach. But yeah, you really with memoir, like it's so important that it's not your whole life. And what she talked about in the very beginning about really dropping them in a place that's going to grab them from the very beginning is, I think, really important in memoir as well.
Absolutely. That main message. And I'm glad you brought that up, Alexa. The autobiography really covers an entire person's life, whereas a memoir is really located on a segment of their life. And it's interesting, an experience, something that they've gone through, something that they've learned. And I think it makes them powerful because they have such a strong message. So keep moving forward with that memoir. I hope to hear more about that.
Okay, and the last one we have before we can move on is when you want to shorten your sentence to be more impactful, what is your process? You give one example before and after. Many of us edit as each sentence comes out of our mouth, which is not very efficient.
So the question is kind of how do you know what sentences to cut out, or
when you're shortening your sentences? So you were talking about like you don't have to have all these extra words in there. Like how do you do that?
Make sure that you're not repeating yourself. That's one of the biggest things I would say. So when you're describing a situation through the character's perspective, right? When you're developing that scene, like when she had her wine glass and she turns around, you don't need to, if she's dropping that wine glass, the reader can guess the reaction. So when you're reading any of these things, make sure your author's voice and the character's voice are not repeating themselves, if that makes sense. Make sure that you don't have that, because that's going to the reader's like, I already knew that. I already gone through it. And they're going to lose interest. It's not going to be as exciting. They're not going to want to read on because they don't want to read everything twice. Make sure you leave the reader something that they can go, oh, she dropped her glass. She must be freaking out. Or he yelled. He must be really mad right now, or he must be this way. Let the reader come up with their conclusions based on you telling that story through the characters and perspectives. Does that make sense? Is that helpful?
Yep. And action verbs. One of the things when we did our webinar with Pro Writing Aid on self-editing, that was one of the things that they talked about too, was like if you focus it around an action verb, a person, a noun, an action, and an impact like that, a lot of times so many of the extra words come in from us adding in words that don't need to be there to describe an action instead of just using a word for the action. I thought that was the most powerful thing that I took away from that entire webinar, because I am so guilty of doing that, like trying to write this whole description and it's like, just action it.
I know, exactly. And we are all like that. And we naturally want to explain that as well as have the action. So just action. Yep. That's a perfect way to explain that, Alexa. Thank you.
All right. We are ready to move forward now.
Okay, perfect. So I want to talk, I'm going to go through these, and these are some of the, prestigious book contests that I've listed, that I've seen, and a lot of people have had that, of course. I'm sorry
to interrupt you.
Yeah.
We just got a comment that the Find Your Award-winning title slide was skipped.
Oh, well, this one?
Go. Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, was that just an intro slide?
It's just a title slide.
Sorry.
No, that's perfectly fine. Perfectly fine. I love that everybody's out here and with me, and this is so much fun. I'm so excited to help writers. Yes, this is great. So yeah, we're just going through. I wanted to list these, and each of these have a link. So of course, the Randolph Caldecott Medal is for children's books. We've got Edgar Awards, that's towards mystery genres. The Booker Prize, that's international. PEN American Literary Awards and National Book Awards. These are, of course, not limited to. These are just a few of the big, huge, prestigious book contests that are out there. But I do have links to each one of those. So when you get the link to the slides, you'll be able to click on these. And I also have other book award contests that you could consider your own book for as well. Reader Views is a great one. The Benjamin Franklin Award. Goodreads Choice Awards. And in Goodreads Choice Awards, I think there is a list of other book contests within Goodreads as well. So that's a great source to find other contests. Book Excellence Award, Book Life Prize, and Writer's Digest Self-Publishing Book Awards. Now, I want to also point out that, well, actually, I will in the next slide. So those are some of the book awards. Now, here are some sources for book contests. If you're wanting to find some options for your book, then this is where I go. Usually the writer's market is kind of my holy grail. It's a fantastic resource, and it not only has literary agents and publishers, but it has contests listed in that, and it's published every year. And I always recommend that. Top Reads Publishing, they have book awards contests, and Top Reads actually was a speaker during the Women in Publishing Summit, and I had the opportunity to attend that, and I just thought that was fantastic. She spoke well about the different contests and had an updated list. So I wanted to put that in there and include, but certainly give credit to that person for putting that together. And then one I came across was TCK Publishing Book Awards Contest. They have a list of different book awards that you could apply for and possibly choose for your own book to enter. So how do you choose your own? What are some of the things you need to do to choose the contests that are right for your book? That's what I wanted to make sure that you are able to understand, so you can do the right research and make sure that you're doing it in the most efficient way. So moving forward, we're talking about choosing your contest. You want to make sure you start by asking your publisher. If you are self-publishing, of course, we're going to look through researching resources, which I'll have for you here in just a minute. Well, and before the list I just had for you. But my publisher guided me to the book contest that I had, and I was so fortunate because I wasn't aware and I didn't have the knowledge or expertise in where I should be going. So that was something I learned, and it was a big help. If you don't have that opportunity, you could research writers' organizations in your genre. So say, for example, you have a romance novel. You could check out RWA to check out what awards they have on their site, the Romance Writers of America, or any of the Writers Digest has some different categories and genres too. But just try some organizations that would be in your community and represent your kind of genre of book, and see what they have to say. That's the best way to do that. Checking credibility of your contest is essential. You want to make sure you research the website, the reviews, the past winners. Make sure that they're a legitimate contest and that they're out there not just to get your money and disappear, because there are scammers out there, of course, that we all have to watch out for. So doing your research is going to benefit you in the end. And then, of course, checking the qualifications, your genre that you're representing, what they're taking in, and seeing if there are any location or language or publisher or author restrictions. I know, like, for example, the Booker Award, they are looking for books in the English language that are published in the English language in UK and Ireland, I believe. But the International Booker Award will go for books that are not in the English language, but they are published in the UK and the Ireland countries. So those are the things that you want to just check all the qualifications, see if you're eligible before you move forward, obviously. And then, of course, checking your submission requirements, just like when you're submitting to a publisher or an agent, you want to check those submission requirements, format requirements, sample length, entry forms, and publishing deadline. And those are the things that you want. I know I have gone through this really fast. Checking for the budget entry fees. There are going to be, most of them are going to have some kind of entry fee. There are some that are for free, but you want to, of course, require that, or just do your research on that. And that might determine which ones you're going to enter in for entering the contest and which ones you're going to bypass. So all in all, after doing all of this, I know I've thrown a bunch of these things at you, and I'm so excited you're still with me, because this is, I know it's a lot of information, but after that, I want you to know that this could be you. This could be your book cover right here with awards listed behind it. Now, I want you to imagine your book cover here. Every award-winning author, we have all started somewhere. We've all been there. And I can tell you right now that this could be you. And I'm excited to talk to you guys about that. It's been a long road for me to get to this point, but I'm so proud of the opportunities that I've had to get here. And I have had the struggles, trust me, all the struggles that keep a writer from becoming an author and even award-winning author. I've had all of these. Lack of confidence. Is my writing good enough? Lack of time. Can I do this in my daily crazy busy schedule with family and house and everything? And lack of knowledge. I don't even know how to develop a scene or how to develop a character or how to start a book. These are all things that I struggled with over the last 15 plus years and have gotten to where I am today. But that's where my passion has come in. And that's why I started Dream to Author. I am here to help people write, publish, and market their first book, because I had so many struggles in my first book. Then I saw an editor and I got the resources I need, and my first book was endorsed by the largest newspaper in the state of Iowa. And I'm so happy that I was able to have that opportunity, because I got the help that I needed. And that's where I'm here with you. Alexa has been such a help, and her and I have had these conversations about, how to help people with the struggles that we've had when we started out. I know, Alexa, you and I have talked about that a little bit, and how to get people past that and not have to spend all the time that at least I did in revising, to move forward much faster and get those rewards much quicker. So that's, if you are there, if you're committed, I want to see who's committed, actually, who's ready to write their first book, who is ready to be an award-winning author. I want you to get in the chat box and tell me. Absolutely. Beautiful. I love this. This is such a fantastic community. Well, if you guys are ready, oh my gosh, there's so many. This is great. Thank you so much. If you are ready to do this, if you're ready to take that step and you're ready to do this, I want to invite you to the Author Creation Project. And I want to end on this note. This is a program that I offer, and it helps you become a successful published author. So my goal is to give you the confidence, keep you on track, take care of that time constraint issue, and do that one-on-one guidance. Because when I started my first book, I just wished that I could have had somebody to talk to and go, is this scene right? Is this character need to be moved over here? Or I'm not sure where to start here. And those are the things I wish I would have had. And now I'm excited because I am able to put that into this program. So I'm going to go through this very quickly because I know we're running out of time. But this is a 6-module online program, the Author Creation Project, and it takes you through this. I also do 6 months of one-on-one coaching. So you have me at your corner and reading your work, giving feedback, reviewing it, and showing you where to go on these as you're writing your story. Those are the 2 biggest things I have to offer. I've got ebook tools and templates that are all through this online program, and then 3 complimentary webinars that you can have. You get to choose from the Dream to Author library of various topics. I also have a bonus for this program. Once we get that book written of yours, once you have that all completed, I show you how to write, get you a guide to writing your query letter, which is your 1-page sales pitch, and then one of the most important things when you're in the publishing stage. And I also do a publisher's analysis. So in analyzing your book and what your needs are and what your priorities are for your book, your hopes and your dreams, I come up with 10 different literary agents and or publishers for your book that are good candidates for your book. That is what the goal is to make sure that you've got that. And then I show you how I find those. So you can find them on your own as well if you need additional or you want to submit to others. You know how to research them. So this entire online program, I kind of give my all to my Inner Circle Author Creation Project members. And it's a point to getting you to that stage and being a successful published author. Now, to do that, I'm going to make sure, I'm going to go through this really quick. The modules I have set up here, we're talking about getting you in the right mindset, setting up your story structure, finding the POV, getting those story must-haves, which are those aha moments I had specifically when I was writing my first book, and the power of motivation. In that module, it's all about getting you in that right state to move forward and start your book right away. Module 2 is all about manuscript formatting, getting the basics, scene changes, dialogue, letters, documents. I also talk about text messages and emails and all that, because that is something that a lot of people are putting in their stories as well now. And how do you format that? And then keeping the reader engaged, making sure that that reader understands without fumbling on any formatting issues. Yvonne raised her hand. Do you have a question, Yvonne, in the chat box, or?
Sometimes people accidentally click raise their hand, but we do have a couple of questions we'll get to in the Q&A box when you're done sharing this.
Okay, I have about 2 minutes on this, so I'm excited though, because this comes up into my big surprise for you guys. Module 3 is writing what you know, the importance of genre. This is about the industry, the length of the manuscripts. Now those are guidelines, writing what you don't know, but all in all, you're working your way in module 3 to making sure that your story is compelling and believable and something that brings you to a status of an award-winning book. And that's what we talk about through that module. And then module 4 is all about setting goals, and we're tackling that time constraint issue. We're setting your goals that are realistic in your crazy day-to-day schedule. We're addressing writer's block, evaluating progress, and we're talking about the secret to progress, which I have for you guys in this. And then module 5 and 6 are all about editing, polishing your manuscript, even finalizing on a shoestring budget, setting up a critique group strategy, who to ask to be in your group, what qualifications they should have, what to gather, and what to ask for them. And then we talk about implementing and finalizing your book. And then I have additional editing resources to put that are available for you guys. And then in module 6, it's all about the publishing, learning what different categories are out there for publishing, determining a publishing path that's right for your book specifically, and then the ultimate strategies, marketing strategies, which there are 12 different they're wonderful strategies to go through. And I take those, explain those, and then we talk about creating your marketing plan, taking those strategies and putting them into a plan so you know exactly what to do and when to do it. So that is the entire program. And the program value is $12,000. That's what I charge for that program. But all of my friends today online, I'm so excited. I'm offering the code 30% off for this program, which brings it down to 8,400, but that is 30% off until Friday for anyone that's registered for the WIP webinar participants. But in addition, I want to offer the first 20 applicants today. If you are in the first 20 applicants today, I will give you 50% off of that program. It's going to take you from starting your story to published author, successful published author, worthy of award published author within 12 months. And that's what I want to help people get that off. Thank you very much for putting that link in there, Alexa. I appreciate that. So the link for 50% off is in the chat box. Alexa got that. And I am here to help you guys. And one quick question for you guys. I want to know, did I deliver? We had amazing writing strategies. We talked about hooking the reader, bringing the story back to life, bringing the character in the story. We talked about must-have strategies to polish your manuscript and submit to publishers and agents with confidence. We've talked about that. We've talked about how to build your credibility and add the title award-winning author behind your name. Did I deliver? If you want to answer in the chat box, that would be fantastic. And I would be happy to answer any questions whatsoever.
Okay, we have a couple for you that are still in the box. So I was wrong. There was apparently there was a slide that we did actually miss. That was the award-winning titles slide. A couple of people said we completely skipped it. So I don't know if you want to go back. If there was another slide. And yes, this was a great presentation. Thank you. Sorry, I get so focused on doing the.
Oh no, I appreciate this. This is great. And yes, I'm so excited. I do not I'm doing a live launch next in June 1st. And I'm doing 30% off for those participants, but I'm not doing 50% off. This is the only opportunity I'm going to give 50% off for the WIP people that sign up today. I'm so excited about it.
That is very exciting. So it looks like a really good program. Okay, was this the one? No, it says award-winning titles. There's a slide about award-winning titles. So I think it was back a few more slides. Yes, Sue, the replay email and everyone else who was wondered about it. So there's 3 ways you can get the replay. You can wait for it to be emailed out to you. You can go over to the Women in Publishing Summit Facebook page. If you're not following, you can follow that and you can look under our videos. I broadcast this webinar live there, so you can access it immediately there. And third, we will put it on our YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/write publish sell. I'll drop that link in here, and as soon as this video renders, I will load it to YouTube. But if you're not following us on YouTube, you should definitely go over and subscribe, because we put all of our webinars up there and other training tutorials and things like that. So you'll be notified as soon as that stuff comes up. And then the links that she dropped, we will put both of those into the replay message as well. So I would guess everybody should try the 50% off one until she says it's no longer available. Yes. And then the 30% off, and it will also have a link to her slides. So you'll be able to go in and click, because she said there are lots of clickable links. So, okay, it would have been past this. Examples of great first lines continue. And I would just say, we've got some other, so Linda says she thinks the title was Finding Your Award-Winning Title, but it was never discussed. I think that was just,
That was the
I thought
title
that was
for
just
that
the
section.
titles for the section. Yeah, I don't think there was anything that
Yes.
actually went into that slide. So
So yeah, that was finding your award-winning title is where we were going into the different kind of book awards that you could enter into. And
got
so
it.
I had the two different lists with links and then sources where you could look, and that's where you could find opportunities for you to find your own book award or book contest to enter into, and then what to look out for. So I think I kind of covered that through how to get your title through researching the right contests and making sure that you're getting the right contests that are good for your book. I hope that makes sense.
Yes, that does make sense. And we unfortunately are out of time for today's webinar. And I will make sure that you have the replay and all of the slides behind this, so you can go back through and do that. And Diane, I would just say, we've been, she asked how you got your book in front of the eyes of that newspaper. That's all about editorial reviews and knowing how to position your book and email people and put it in front of the editorial outlets near you. But if you want to expand on specifically how you got it into the Des Moines Register.
Absolutely. I'm 100% in agreeing with you, Alexa. It was finding out who to talk to in what outlets and just throwing it out there and going, okay, I know I've got something. I know I have the confidence in submitting this. I'm going to see what attention I can get out there. And it's about fine tuning that pitch and making sure that you're getting the attention of those people. I didn't know anyone at the Des Moines Register, but it didn't stop me from starting there, going, I know that that's the largest newspaper. I'm going to try for it. We're going to see what we can come up with. And I got very lucky. There was somebody that was very interested in that book.
And most large newspapers and even small newspaper, even you could start with your very local. I live in a very, very small town outside of Columbia, South Carolina. We have a little Blythewood newspaper. There's generally somebody that on the editorial staff that reviews books or talks about books. So it's just a matter of taking the time to find out who does that and then sending them stuff about it. So
absolutely.
Okay, well, this was a fantastic webinar. Thank you again so much. Don't forget, everyone, to head over to womenandpublishingsummit.com/events. Please give us 24 hours before you start asking us for the replay email, because we try to get it out as quickly as we can, but sometimes technology slows us down. Again, if you're just super anxious to rewatch this, go to the Facebook page and check in the videos on the Women in Publishing Facebook page, and you will find it there. But this was phenomenal. Again, thank you for being, just a great colleague and rapidly becoming a great friend that I can reach out to and discuss things with, and a sponsor of our summit. And you're going to be involved in helping us with the next conference as well. So just it's what our community is all about, right?
That's right.
In our community that can help us, collaborate with us, and work with us as we grow in this process of being authors and publishers and experts in our field. So,
yes. Thank you so much for having me. This was such a pleasure and an honor to work with you guys. I appreciate it. If you guys have any questions, Jackie@dreamtoauthor.com. But thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a great day, everyone.